Part 18. Reclaim Africa's wealth from foreign hands to African hands. Brothers and sisters, I am Abebe. We have spoken about leadership, governance, and the power of the diaspora. But let's get to the heart of the matter. Africa's wealth. Africa is not poor. Africa is the richest continent on earth. But it has been made poor through exploitation, corruption, and mismanagement. The real question is, how do we take back control? So we must ask this hard question again. Who owns Africa? Here is the brutal truth. 60% of arable land is leased or owned by foreign corporations. 60% of arable land is leased or owned by foreign corporations. Let me say this again. 60% of arable land is leased or owned by foreign corporations. Not only that, major mines, oil fields, and rare mineral resources are controlled by European, Chinese, and American companies. Oh, that's not the only ones. Banks, telecommunications, and industries in many African nations are majority foreign owned. Even basic infrastructure like roads, ports, and power plants are being built and controlled by foreign governments, leaving African nations in debt. How can we call ourselves independent when we own nothing? Nothing! So we have to talk about the debt trap, Africa's new chain. Don't wait that metallic chain to come and put on your neck, your hands and your feet. The debt trap. Colonialism never ended. It simply changed form. Foreign nations offer loans for development. African governments, desperate for funds, accept these loans. The money comes with string attached. Contracts that favor foreign corporations over African interests. When the debt cannot be repaid, foreign nations seize African assets, ports, airports, mines, even entire industries. They call it investment. This is how Africa has become a slave to foreign interests. This is an invisible iron chain. How do we break free? Brothers and sisters, we need to be brave, strategic, and unapologetic in taking back what is ours. Here is how. Nationalize strategic resources. African nations must reclaim ownership of critical resources. Oil and gas must be processed by African-owned refineries. Mining contracts must be renegotiated to ensure profits stay in Africa. Water, electricity, and infrastructure must be owned and controlled by African governments, not foreign investors. 2. Exit the dollar and build African economic independence. Did you know that the dollar itself is an experiment? Dollar dominance was an experiment, and it worked and it failed. Democracy in itself was an experiment. It began and failed. It's not working in Africa. So African nations must stop relying on foreign currencies like the US dollars and the euro. We need an African-controlled financial system that allows direct trade between African nations without Western interference. A gold-backed African currency could be a game changer. Anybody knows if the BRICS, they have a gold-backed currency system? Is it African controlled? I doubt it. It's another way. Develop local manufacturing and technology. And instead of exporting raw material, Africa must process and manufacture its own goods. Countries like Nigeria, Ethiopia, and South Africa have the brain power to build their own industries. We must invest in science, technology, and innovation rather than waiting for the West or China to do it for us. 4. Cut out the middlemen. Africa to Africa trade. Right now, African countries, Right now, African countries trade more with Europe and China than with each other. This must change. We need direct trade routes between African nations. An African free trade agreement must be enforced, ensuring we do business with each other before looking outside. Remember, we said we have a metal chain in our neck, hands and legs. Country boundaries set by colonial powers are like a small cell for each of us to be trapped in. So let's build African supply chains that keep wealth circulating within the continent without borders. To do this, we need to hold corrupt leaders accountable. Corrupt politicians sell out Africa's wealth to foreign interests. We must demand transparency in government contracts and resource management. No more offshore bank accounts for stolen wealth. Africa's money must stay in Africa. The final question: are we ready to take control? Brothers and sisters, reclaiming Africa's wealth is not just about money, it is about freedom. If we own our resources, we control our destiny. If we own our industries, we provide jobs for our people. If we own our trade, we dictate our future. The West fears an economically independent Africa more than anything. That is why they use debt, corruption, and manipulation to keep us dependent. But we are working out. Thank you very much, and coming up is part 19.